Another way to determine area is by dividing the rectangle into smaller rectangles. So notice how, we have a 7 by 42 rectangle. Again, the formula says you can just multiply 42 times 7. But to take it to another level of reasoning, what you're allowed to do is you can break this into smaller rectangles. And the way we're going to do that is I'm going to keep the 7, but I'm going to break the 42 into smaller pieces here. So I'm going to cut it like this. So this side is going to remain, this is going to remain as a 7. But instead of having one big rectangle, by cutting the 42 into two slices, and I'm going to choose by place value, I'm just going to say this is a 40 and a 2. You can cut it up any way you want. I'm just going to do it by place value, a 40 and a 2. And so what I can do now is I can find the area of each smaller rectangle. So this rectangle would be 7 by 40. So it's going to be 7 times 4. And again, you can use your tic-tac-toe method to determine your 7 facts, or you can do 4 sevens. So 7 times 4 would be that 28. And then you add in the trailing 0, so that would be 280. And then 7 times 2 would have been 14. And then if you do the total there, you'd end up with 294 as your area. So the area would be then 294. So these are both equivalent, just two different ways of doing the problem. You could just multiply 42 times 7, but another way of reasoning it is to break it into smaller rectangles, find the area of each smaller rectangle, and then find their sum. So that's another way to do it. Area can also be calculated by dividing a rectangle into smaller rectangles and then determine the sum of that. So if I have an 8 by 54 rectangle, what I can do is I can keep the 8, that doesn't bother me, but the 54, I can kind of break it apart into 50 and a 4. So I can break that side into two pieces, which is actually going to break the rectangle into two separate rectangles. So if I find the area of the first rectangle, 8 times 50 would be, 8 times 5 would be 40, and then the trailing 0 gives me my 400. And then 8 times 4, again, you can use your 8 fact thing. That's at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then on the other side, it was at 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do you appreciate? 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do you appreciate? You create those 8 facts, and you would say 8 times 4 would be 32. And then 400 plus 32 would be your final answer. So the area of this rectangle would be 432. And that's how many squares would be inside the rectangle. It would be 432 squares. So that gives you an idea of how we also could do area by breaking something into smaller rectangles.